This is your daily reminder that Neeks hates me. This is your daily reminder that Neeks hates me. Also, hi Dar, how you doing? Thank you for the lurk. No. Have you ever noticed, chat? Have you ever noticed that the second I get close to going live, Neeks always starts lurking? Because Neeks hates me so much. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Neeks, I'm sure. Hello, Carmia. Thank you for getting first. Good morning, Emma. Thank you for getting second. And Echo Infernal. You Fernal. Thank you for getting third. I'm so proud of you for counting right, all of you today. Tired had to do an assignment last minute. Molly, why would you do that? Don't do that to yourself. Starting from the top, thank you. Or hi, good morning, Robin, Molly. Good morning, Neeks and Aura. Aura, I'll give you some chicken. I have some chicken left. Like, hear me out. I don't have a lot of easy access food right now. I have a lot of stuff set aside for like meals. And this morning I'm like, I'm really hungry and I've had no time to cook anything. What do I have that I can make in 15 minutes? And I was like, well, I defrosted chicken breast last night. So I cut it up in little cubes. I did a soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, garlic, ginger marinade. Let it soak for a bit. Added some maple syrup to it, and then sauteed it for a while, making very tasty, sweet, and delicious chicken. So yeah, it's sweet and savory. It's very like, it's my general marinade for any sort of like Asian style dishes. Good morning, Neeks. Already said that. Good morning, Katamia. Already said that as well. Good morning, Stream Elements and Dar and Golden Frieza. How you doing, Frieza? Hi, Azalea. Been a little bit. Hope you're doing well. Where have you been, Azalea? I missed you. Good morning, Pixel Literate. Good morning, G. I like that your name has a lot of eyes. It is really good. Oh, yeah, no, I can walk y'all through some, like, if you want to do a very, very basic, like marinade for about any meat for any Asian dish, you do 1 part soy sauce, 1 part rice wine vinegar, or any vinegar really. You're just mainly going for that like nice little sour taste. You want to add garlic and ginger because they really round out the flavors. It's good to add a spice, so crushed red peppers, gochujang, things like that. And then you need a sweetness. So you need something that's salty. You need something that's a little sour. And you need a sweetness. Garlic, which I view as its own flavor, and something to round it out, which is ginger. And so yeah, you can let meat soak in that. You can use it just as like a dipping sauce for like tofu. Very good. And you can just like add little variations to it, and it makes just absolutely fantastic. Good morning, Kat. Good morning, Anya. Pixel, I'm having a pretty good morning. Pixel, do you prefer your name Pixel or Literate? I've never asked you. What do you want to be, Pix? What do you want to be, L? What do you want to be, Lee? What do you want to be, Tur? I'm going to call you Tur now. All right, Turret. I missed you, Simon, around. I haven't been doing so good lately. That's okay, Azalea. I'm sorry you haven't been doing well. I hope things go better for you. And I hope you're feeling, I hope you know that there's always a space for you here if you need it, if you want it, whether it's lurking and silent or being interactive. I want you all to always feel like this is a space where everyone, is welcome. As long as you're welcoming of others, Tur, yay, tur. Do, tur. Thank you for the hydrate, I do see. Oh, well, Neeks. Thank you for the bits. You personally, every single time I'm about to start stream, when it hits like 12 seconds, you go, lurking. It's like, why were you sitting here talking to people? But then when Gene shows on screen, you're like, I don't want to be here anymore. That's so mean. This morning we're drinking a delicious, delicious Arizona iced tea with raspberry flavor. I'm kind of curious what the raspberry flavor is, though. Premium brewed blend of black teas using filtered water, high fructose corn syrup, citric acid, natural flavors. Don't do that. It's my least favorite thing. I hate when people do that. Thank you for the bits. I hate when they're like, made with natural ingredients. Natural flavoring. I mean, obviously, but like what flavoring? Why does this taste like raspberries? Is it raspberries? Is it natural raspberry flavoring? Or is it just like we mixed orange juice and apples? Yeah. Thank you for the bits, Neeks. Thank you. And good morning, Nia. How you doing? Bet. Okay, chat. We have some options this morning. I don't know if I'm going to keep it chill this morning because it is 6, and it's Saturday, so I technically don't have to keep it chill. But what are the vibes today? Are you all feeling more chill? Do you all want to try out the forest, where we can do a mod where people can control things and break my game for me? I know, I hate chemicals. Yeah, everything's a chemical. Do we want to do Red Dead some more? Or do we want to just do something chill? Here, we'll do a poll. We'll do a poll for this, okay? You're pro the forest? Okay. No. Appreciate you. Oh my, Nia. Alright, here we go. We're gonna do a poll. You ready? Then we're gonna do I guess we'll do the 2 games. And you ready? Sell your food. So come on, go get some food, Echo. And grab me some like toast. I would really like some toast or rice. I want a carb. I really want a carb. And lastly, we have the forest to crowd control. Thank you for the bits. Mwah. All right, chat. 1 minute. Let's go. I have not played the Forest 2 at all. Thank you, Anya. You can have 1 noodle. Only 1. Are you making like pre-made raw? Ooh, Echo. Okay, do you have soy sauce? Do you have vinegar? Do you have the stuff I mentioned earlier? Because if you mix that in with like a broth cube and stuff, you make a really good ramen broth. Or are you making your own broth already? Neeks, back to bed. Go to bed. I'm kicking you out. Sons of the Forest, yes. With crowd control. Oh, nice. Very nice. Wait, what is this evening's game? Do I have any plans for this evening, chat? Ah, fine, you'll make me do it. I say, you're pissing too darn loud, boy. It's late at night, you're pissing right in the center of the bowl like you're frying chicken in there. You gotta piss on the side, boy. Make it a stealth mission. You're causing a whole ruckus pissing like that, boy. Oh, I was supposed to say that. I just really wanted to read it because it looked like it'd be fun to say. Alright, you all tied. So let me see what tonight's game is. Really, Azalea? Very nice, very nice. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, 1 second, chat. I need to do a thing. No, 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 no. Jean's schedule, Jean's schedule. What's on Jean's schedule today? Oh. Alright, chat. We're going to do Sons of Forest later on the day at 4 p.m. at the normal time. And we'll just do Minecraft this morning to keep it chill for now, because we're getting used to the chill vibes, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it tied, so we'll do Forest later today. And we'll do chill Minecraft this morning. Mm-hmm. I am on call though, so if I do get dinged, I may need to drop in the middle of stream, just a heads up. Fight the power. How dare you fight the power? Alright, let's get that cute music up here real quick. Peaceful day music. Mm-hmm. And there we go. Oh, just because I work for a company that requires on call? That's it. I'm just on call. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for the bit, Anya. I really, really appreciate it. And Anya, you're such a good, charming foxy. Alright, let's do... Okay. Is the music good, chat? I hope it sounds alright. 1 second while I take an adjustment here. Computers do not care what time it is for you no matter what. Which is just so awful. And the company I work for, has places that work 24/7, so if anything goes wrong, then, I have to work and deal with it. Got a call this morning at 5 a.m. and they're like, hey, this account we use on all of these production machines is locked out. And so I get on, I check the computer, and I'm like, no, it's not. Thank you, Anya. And then they give me a call back saying, hey, I don't know what you did, but thank you. And I'm like, I did nothing. The account wasn't locked. I'm assuming whoever called in just put in the wrong password. And they're like, see, it's locked. And what they actually show is like, incorrect password page. But, it is what it is. Oh, did I miss a redeem? I apologize. Let me take a look here real quick. Thank you for the bits. Oh, Azalea. Mwah. Oh no, Pixel, I do everything. Not just sysadmin work. I wish it was only sysadmin work. But somebody might call in being like, hey, I don't know how to use this program in the middle of the night. Oh, thank you, Anya. I do appreciate it so very much. Now, what were we doing? Oh, let me see something here. There we go. We're going to take chat and move you down here. There we go. All right. Are you ready? Now, chat, how much you want to bet I'm going to... Oh, wait. I need to check on the volume of the game. What game were we playing last time? Oh, there's no game audio right now. We're going to do a little... Is that sound okay, chat? Or would we rather have the music louder and the game quieter? Sounds good? Yeah. And let me know, because I think I'm used to having the music louder than the game. But I don't remember. You say that you had to go. No, I think they're both the same. Okay, we're good. We're good. Anyways, where was I? Alright, so you said you stepped down because you had, to do on call, but you were dealing with judges. Judges is crazy. Why were you having to. What kind of calls were you taking from judges on call? I guess, I mean, I never think about it, but like working in IT and having worked in the medical industry, the only industries I think are really on call are like, you know, medical and tech, but I guess other fields have them too. My shield, my shield, my shield. What happened? What hit me? Oh, you're kidding. Oh, you're kidding. There was a single hole there. A single hole that I just so happened to land into. Oh, we need cats? Okay, we'll get some cats, chat. What do you mean, karma? You're so mean to me. Why are you so mean to me? Alright, chat, we need a new biome and a new world. I'm gonna call this one Beat the Game 420. Chat, what would you like to use for the world seed? You know what, how about karma? I think karma would be nice. Hmm. Good karma? Okay. We're gonna call it good karma. Here we go. And now, chat, a biome. What biome would you like to see me work in? I personally want to find like a really nice lush cave. But you can't grow trees in lush caves, so... The cherry blossom grove? That's always been fun, and I think we had good experience there last time. It's always pretty, and I love little pink flowers. Alright, chat. Let's see if we can find a cherry blossom grove. What was that? What is it that you would like, Cornea? Good morning, Pooty. Pooty Mouse, how you doing? You heard Pretty Mouse? Well, sure there are plenty of pretty mice out there. Good morning, Irene. How you doing? Oh, Nia, you never sent me a screenshot of all the filters you use. You still need to do that so I can get my 3DO set up. Penguin, you need me, really? Already? What do I have this honor for? Yeah. Oh, that's me, Chet. I'm your car. Come drive in me. Oh, I see. You're attempting to get me sick, too. Rest, little penguin. Relax. Close your eyes. Sleep is going to be the best cure for you. It's going to help you recover. Get all the nutrients you need and relax. Sleep. That would get me sick too. But I'll bring you some soup. And if you have a fever, I'll bring you a nice cold rag. Make sure you stay warm. Take the time that you need to slowly recover. When did I wake up? I don't really remember now. I guess, probably about an hour ago. This is just me in the morning voice. No, you all haven't heard the morning voice. My voice will rumble and quake And sometimes it's difficult to get even words out, because my throat refuses to make the noises. I look a jungle. But it's deeper, more rumbly. Neeks, why don't I believe that for a second? What are you doing, dear Neeks? Why would I ever hate you? Hi, Spell. I would never hate you. Hmm. I don't think I've ever seen this kind of. No, come on. Anya. You don't need to be awake right now. What were you thinking? Come on, lovely little Nix, speak your mind. We hear the words. Maybe I'll do a morning voice recording sometime for your chat so you can hear me struggle to say words. Hmm. Chad, do you remember that one stream where we couldn't find a jungle for... I have not been ignoring you for 3 days, Spell. What do you mean 3 days? Really, Neeks. Crazy. I would never ignore you for 3 days. Maybe one day. Penguin, you're such a bad boy. Such a bad boy. Hmm. Spell, did you feel like I've been ignoring you for that long? I do apologize. It was most definitely not intentional. Or Spell. I did forget to say hi to everybody yesterday. You are 100% right about that. I'm very forgetful. Neeks. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Oh, I still need to figure out that, Bats. Thank you for that, Bats. I promise I'll figure out the redeem eventually. I did. And then I had to delete that game forever. Because we lost 10 times. It's gone until I figure out a way to make it a... Maybe I'll make it a redeem. Only if you pay for it. Nothing's for free. Oh, horses. Hmm. If you want to talk about who's bottom or top, remember there's always a Discord for that. Welcome back, Golden. Missed you. Good morning, Calypsy. And thank you, Anya. Alright, shall we have to kill the sheep quickly before the night? Yes, except everybody's labeled as bottom. Oh, tell your coworkers I say hi. Tell them I'm very attractive and they should give me all their money. A A B M A. Yes, I am AMBA assigned bottom by mod. Like I said, ABBM assigned bottom by mod. Sure, what'd you got for me there, Anya? What's the dare? Actually, let's make a little thing here. Boom, 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 boom. One of those. This will do. Getting a little food. I haven't seen what the dare is yet. Exactly, Clipsy. You can do it. I believe in you. Make me famous by force. I see you are following Gene yet. Have you thought about maybe doing that? Who's Gene? Don't worry about it. Give him money. Our Lord and Savior Gene. Mm. Oh, I don't have enough wood. Chad, can you get me wood, please? I don't want to have to walk all the way over there to get it. And then find a fox and feed it. I could do that. No. Well, tell your little grandmother that I would happily be fed. I look forward to meeting her. So I can get food. I mean, I did already eat this morning, but you know, more food is always appreciated. show your grandparents me, and just so we can see what the reaction is, record their reaction. Be like, who's this weird internet boy? Food is life. Food is so important, John. Mm-hmm. Food is so incredibly important. Oh, really? Good morning, Cinnamon Row. How you doing today? Cinna Moreau. Have you shown them me already? I want to know what the reaction was. What do you even show them? Do you like, hey, isn't this person cool looking? Or are you like, hey, I like this person, this person does cool stuff? I'm doing very well. Oh, yeah. Very cool, Pixel. Very cool. And thank you. I think that number is right. You should, but you could bring me tamales. You could bring me tamales. I would love tamales. I've trapped my dog between my legs. Mmm. No, we haven't gotten a dog yet, Nia. Not even once. Azalea. Azalea. You are such a good girl. And you do deserve kindness. You will always deserve kindness. Just by existing, by living, by being part of this world, you deserve to be happy and to be proud of yourself. You don't have to do a single thing in the world to deserve kindness. 1 second, chat. But yes, Azalea, you don't have to do a single thing in the world to deserve kindness, because just you existing is enough. And just you existing makes me proud. You're taking another step forward every day. Another attempt to see what the next day can bring. I do really appreciate you and the time you spend here. And you are doing fine. Even if sometimes it might not feel that way. You're doing good. Keep going forward. And things will always get better eventually. I promise. Of course. I've never had homemade tamales, chat. And I feel like I've been missing out. Mm-hmm. Pink sheep. Hello, pink sheep. This is gonna be like the jungle all over again, isn't it? We spent how many hours trying to find the jungle last time and then died the second we got there? Echo, are you one of those people who games while watching other people game so you can get gameception? try a tamale made with Asian food. Like a sweet pork tamale. Mm. That's what I want to see in my fusion restaurants, chat. My lovely, devious darlings. I want to see crossovers that are less done. Not the classic, hey, we have Asian food on the menu and we have Mexican food on the menu, or hey, we did Tex-Mex, which counts as fusion. Tex-Mex does not count as fusion. Texas was part of Mexico. That's just Mexican and secondary Mexican, American Mexican. That'd be interesting. I'll make you some lunch eventually. You're gonna have to wait at least another hour though. Yeah, I feel that. I get very bored with a lot of games. That's very kind of you, Nix. If I was a grove, where would I be, chat? Pumpkin. I'm sorry. Tell the puppy I'm sorry for that. Oh. See, the problem is if I get bored, chat might get bored. In which case, I just drop the game completely. I cannot risk feeling bored. Good morning, Kinetic. How you doing? Kinetic Orbital. Oh, hey, look at the dog. I've been watching Arcane lately. And I feel like Arcane is gaslighting me to try to want to play League of Legends. And I know it's not going to be anything like actual League. I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Kinetic Girdle? But like, it's almost working. I'm almost willing to try League. I will only play League on stream if we like hit some sort of achievement or something. Oh, fun. I hope the tattoo looks good. Mm. No, I don't trust that spider. Is it really? Oh, you self-inserting yourself into things. That's kind of funny. Alright, then oh, well, I was not expecting you to hate me for some reason. I thought we were friends. Chad, do you like my house? What do you think? I think it's very stylish and avant-garde. Do you like my house, Chad? Thank you, thank you. I feel like I can make it worse. Here we go. There. Now that's a modern art piece. Thank you. Every time I look at it, it makes me a little mad. Because it's so unbalanced that it almost looks intentional. Be my friend. No way, one bone. Yeah. He refuses to walk. Chat, meet Nia. We need to find a name tag so I can finally achieve my initial goal. Yeah, he just kept teleporting. He just wasn't walking. Good morning, Ika. How you doing today? Oh, I probably need to actually eat food. Now, the dog will only kill skeletons. And we get more bones so that we can get more dogs, so we can get more skeletons. That's true, me too. I hope the internet's well for you as well. Enjoy your sleep. Rest. Thank you for coming by. I always appreciate it. Honestly. Okay, Jay, here's the plan. My lovely and devious darlings, here is the plan. I think I've just gotten too used to calling y'all chat that I can't call you anything else. I need to get enough supplies and one more dog. So when it gets to night, oh, I also need iron to make a shield. Yeah, and Dee Dee doesn't feel right. I don't like calling you Dee Dee. Thank you for the hydrate, by the way. Double D. I do like darlings. Do we just stick with darlings? Villains do call people darling a lot. Oh, darling. Oh, here we go. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. No way you raiding into me saying ooh woo. No way you raiding into me saying ooh woo. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. God, why do I have an ooh woo redeem? Okay, good morning, hi everybody. My name is LuckyJene, and I'm a gambler, a rider, a flirt. Hi, Gremlin. How you doing, little Gremlin? Good to see you. And hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Thank you so much for that follow. I really, really do appreciate it. Let's see if you win. No winners this time. What were you all doing? And thank you, Sivo19. Did you have a good stream? Oh, thank you for giving a shout out to them, Ready? Yeah. And thank you, Very Salty. Ah, jeez. You know, there's been mention of doing the Uru redeem. Nobody uwooed, requested it. And then the second it gets requested, people come in and hear the awful thing. I can't get rid of it, chat, though, because I know you'll riot if I get rid of it. Hi, little gremlin. How was your stream? Did you have a good one? You did. You did. And Gremlin and everyone else, if you need to raid and run and you have things to do with your day, feel free to do so. And if you want to hang out and watch me play some Minecraft, please come by. Aw, I appreciate it so very, very much, little gremlin. I will take the best care of your community that I can. Oh, not this one too. Don't. Okay, well. Lovely new people. We have a lot of redeems, so let me go through those real quick. And of course, Arf, I'm such a cute little puppy. I got paid to put that one, okay? I got paid to put that one. You can't judge me for that one. Thank you for the follow, Kiki. Beach. I hope your beach is very geeky. Did I say I hope your geek is very beachy, or did I say beach is very... Thank you, Rengoku. Thank you so much for the follow as well. And thank you, Very Salty. I like your name. It's very simple and very nice. Thank you for the follow, Apple Tea. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Have we not had any winners yet? That's crazy. Oh, don't be stuttering talking to a customer. I'm half tempted just to torment you now exclusively, Calypsy. But no, you focus on your customer. So, all the new people here. Today we are looking for a cherry blossom grove. Hopefully, wanting to find it. We're also playing this on hardcore, and I know what you're thinking. Gene, hardcore, how is that going to be ASMR? How are you going to be relaxed the entire time? Hi, Android Computer Virus. Thank you so much for the follow. And the fact is, though, that while I do like Minecraft, I get bored very easily. Morning, Nikio. And so I need the threat of constant death for me to feel relaxed. But I mean, it's simple enough, you know. Build yourself a little bed every night. Make sure you sleep before the monsters come out. There's no worries. Easy. Not a single worry. You get that lurk in. Sleep well on ya. Alright. I bet they were gonna be stuck like this for a while. Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the Southern as well. Because now we got this. 5 minutes of the Southern voice. I know, y'all love the Southern voice. Get some sleep. Close your eyes. Lay back down. Put your head against the pillow. And let yourself drift off You've had a long day. You deserve sleep. Every single one of you. Even if it's the middle of the day, take a little nap. Carmia. Well, that's an interesting way of putting it. I never thought of it like that before, but you know what? You have a point. You absolutely have a point. Venerable. Can I say that? Sure. Great love, immortal venerable. Roll over, redeem, win. You know what the worst part is? One day, we're gonna have a 3D model chat. Meaning, I will be able to roll over. And I'm gonna have some very stupid redeems. Feng Yuan. Why does that sound so familiar? Give me a little second here. Oh, I haven't read this one yet. Oh, but this looks good. Formerly a scholar from Earth, he mysteriously transmigrated into the goo world, where he lived his first 500 years. He started as a common clan member. At the very end of his 500-year life. Oh, that one sounds good. Oh, I love the Wuhan. It's banned for a reason in China. Oh, I'm gonna read it. Nikki, grab yourself a blanket. A princess crown redeem. Chat, y'all just listen to a bunch of random things now. What makes you want all these things? Morning, Gibbets. How you doing, Jibs? Oh, thank you, Geeky Beach. I'm a pretty princess, am I? And we can drop even lower. Talk just a little softer. Make sure. Well, once we get that 3D model, I'll make sure to commission a bunch of stupid outfits for your chat. Rolling around at the speed of sound. Got places to go, gonna follow my rainbow. Follow me, set me free. I'm tempted to just do humming Sonic songs, because that's the only one I know. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, Chad, I've tried something like that before. Not necessarily, having my voice as an alarm, but I had an alarm that was nature noises, which was, lovely way to wake up. A very nice, soft start to my morning. Something I really need sometimes. The problem is, the nature noises had rain sound effect mixed in, and I go to sleep to rain noises. So I forgot to have my rain noises turn themselves off, and thus my sleep noises mixed in with my alarm noises, and I only slept deeper. So now I play things like Rammstein to wake me up. Oh no, no, this dog is Nia. Because when Cornea first rated us. No, I was only 4 minutes late. I'm not that late. Uh-huh. No. I can stream a little late in the weekend. Today, though, I will need to end stream at probably in about an hour and a half maybe, so we have plenty of time. Still most of the streams left. But then tonight I will be doing a longer stream playing The Forest with Crowd Control. Why are there no chests here? No, I'm back. How about Hollow Knight? Maybe. Maybe. There are no chests in this village, chat. I'm a little upset. There's always chests in villages. I'm taking this man's books. They're my books now. Give me your books. Soda. Most definitely soda. Have yourself a nice little Coke. Nunley. You're such a good girl. Good morning, my good girl. How are you doing today? You don't eat lunch. You should be eating lunch. Chat, make sure you're eating enough meals in your day. Why do you want me to be a twink so badly? Of all of those lovely, relaxing people here. Nice toast and bacon. Sounds delicious. I used to have the same breakfast every single day. 2 eggs scrambled, 3 strips of bacon, and a piece of toast cut into triangles with a little bit of butter. Which was interesting because initially I got it every day, just wanting to have some consistency. The problem was, the place I went to get the breakfast every morning got so used to me getting the breakfast that when I would get there, he'd be like, "Oh, 1 sec," and he'd bring out my breakfast. I quit going because I wanted to order something different and I had no way of doing it because the breakfast would be ready. And how rude would it be to just go to him and tell him, "Hey, no, I don't actually want this anymore. I'm sorry you wasted time prepping it and making me food, but yeah." Fair enough. Fair enough. Good morning, John. Stone and Grove. Yeah. And I know people they're like, oh, cool, regulars. Regulars are cool, and I know people want to have the same thing every time, and hey, if I have your food ready for you ready, look how much I'm paying attention to you. But I don't like getting the same food every day. In fact, I am so known for never getting the same dish twice at restaurants that if I do frequent places, they're always curious about what I'm going to try next. So, I mean, there's so much good food out there, Chad. Why would you leave yourself to only one dish? No, I do think it's funny. Brennan Lee Mulligan, the DM, the dropout cast member and comedian, he says he always orders the same thing because it's the best thing. He has a very consistent thing that he eats, and he's like, these are specifically the things that are the best, and that's why I eat them. And I'm like, how can you know they're the best if you haven't tried everything yet? No. You'll eat the same thing until it tastes gross. That's fair. And everyone's different. Inside my brain are two wolves. One is gay, the other is straight, and they will forever debate heteronormativity. They're also kissing sloppy styles. Sloppy styles. Oh yeah, very audible. There is constant sloppy makeouts in my brain, and it makes it really hard for me to focus. You don't think I have ADD? Nah, I just got gay wolves. What am I saying? Why do these words come out of my mouth? Thank you for the follow, JC the Art Witch. JC the Art Witch, do you make content? Or are you just describing yourself as an art witch? Because you are very, very interesting, and I like your name, and I want to see art made by the art witch. I'm so sorry if this is a lot all of a sudden. Alright, JC, I'm following you. I'm going to look at you later. Chat, don't let me forget. Chat, shout out JC. Alright, we're back to being calm now. Really? That sounds crazy, Robin. Thank you. Ooh, Bara. I mean, no warning for everybody else, but you know. Yes, John, you innocent being. It is a capybara. You should go look at it. Mm-mm. You're so smart. You're so clever. Okay, give me a second. I need to calm back down. And we're back. Mm. Oh no, not that being clipped. Me and my gay wolves. No. Alright. Nonly, put headphones on the wasp. I'll lull it to sleep. You got this. Just like put the headphones on the wolves. The wolves, the wasp. Put the headphones on the wasp. And it'll fall asleep at the sound of my voice. You got this. I believe in you. I mean, I like gay wolves. What do you mean? I'm not going to deny that. Good morning, Keeps. How you doing? Lovely chat. Please go check out Keeper of Fate. They are a fantastic streamer. Make lovely content. Me and them collab every once in a while. So you like seeing me? You should go check them out to see me more when I'm not here. I mean, also go follow Keeps if you like Keeper, but yeah. No, but they're a good content creator. I like their stuff. I think the Eldritch Wolf has no sexual preference except violence. What is your sexual preference? Violence. It's pansexual about its violence preferences. I would have to establish what gay violence is. We're never getting back on the rails, chat. I am upset. I am no longer upset. Oh, because that one spot was not letting me through. Oh, look at that. That is so cool, chat. I love when things like this spawn outside of their normal spaces, because you can see around them and how it lays out. Look how cool this is. Really? Oh, lovely Calypsy. Don't let me distract you too much when working with a customer. And Ika, I feel the listening. Why does it feel you're in a public mall? Ika. Ika. No one knows that I'm in your ears right now. Distracting you. Pooh. Flint and steel. Alright, Chad, if you were a grove, where would you be? Sunflowers. I keep opening just to run into one, but I haven't yet. Well, Gibbets, I'm not gonna fit a boat down there. Am I right? Bet. Chad, it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. Don't forget that. Get some sleep, John. Lay yourself down to rest. Now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, pray the Lord my soul to take. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Forget the no. Exit light enter night. Dig my hand. We're off to never land. Good morning, RDTJS. How you doing? There's the village. Oh, them little pets. Oh, the pets are so cute. Whose pets are those? I like their pets. Hunt them down for me. Oh, Leia. Aika, did you originally come from Leia? Or did I send you to Leia and you got the emotes from them? Diamond horse armor, diamond horse armor, diamond horse armor, diamond horse armor. Fair enough, fair enough. Leia's very cool. They used to come by every once in a while. Enjoy your nap. What is going on here? That child was just disciplined. Got told off for being smelly. Chat. Smelly. I didn't say it was a bad smell. I said smelly. A smelly smell. That smells smelly. Don't you be bonking me, how dare you? I don't deserve to be bonked. I deserve to be loved instead. Hi, Tima. I don't believe you. Sounds like a lie. Morning, Lola. Baby, bunny, Lola, how you doing? No, feel free to mess up my hair. I'm always happy to have my hair messed with. Mm. Oh, very sweet of you. It's been too long for you. Y'all, I will join you for that, by the way. Just let me know when y'all are doing it. Because this week I was on call. And my singing lessons. Oh, you're such a bad baby bunny. Such a bad baby bunny. Thank you for the redeem. No, it's gonna be fine. I'll be worn out anyways. Oh, I got you. I will be doing singing lessons on Fridays. Speaking of, I've forgotten to tell you all that my streams on Fridays will be earlier than normal because I will be taking singing lessons at 6, meaning I have to leave here at 5:30. So Friday streams will happen slightly earlier than normal. And yeah. To make it easier, streams will be happening an hour before their usual time on whatchamacallit, Fridays. Maybe 2 hours earlier, but they might be longer. We'll see. Either way, show up an hour early. You'll be good. No, you don't have to. Sleep is very important. I'd rather you have sleep than spend the time here. Calypsy, you are very kind and wonderful. I've really appreciated my time having you here. You've been so more than just sweet. You're aware of others, and you help where you can. You're a very lovely person, and I'm certain you're just as talented as you are lovely. I'm very happy that I have the honor to have someone like you in my community. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for the praise, Redeemer. Mm. Stunner Grove. Of course. Enjoy the journey. I'm trying. I'm most definitely trying to enjoy the journey, chat. Okay, how do you think you make it through the rest of your shift? Oh. Johnny, be careful. Make sure you don't hurt yourself. Really? Are you at least getting paid for the extra 2 hours? You're not doing the labor for free, are you? Oh, that's fair. Do be careful when you drink, chat, all of you, my lovely darlings. It can be very easy to get used to blacking out, and the more you black out, the easier it gets each time. Mm-hmm. Now, is that a work function? That's even worse. You became a mother in peak. How does that work? Look at him go, Jet. Look at him go. Do it again. Spin. 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 Oh, I guess he doesn't want to spin for me. He got shy. Oh, no, there he goes. He was shy. Hmm. I'm very proud of all of you. Seriously, for you all to look at yourselves and realize where your limits are and what you need to do for your own health. It makes me very proud of you all. And I'm very happy when you take care of yourselves. Mm. Silly. Alright, chat. Well, we found a jungle. This looks like a very nice jungle. Carmia, I may play with you. And so I think what I'm going to do is maybe we'll make a little home here. And then we'll use this as a base to try to find a grove. How does that sound? Hmm. Do we also have a panda? I'm thinking more of a cave dwelling underneath that passage there. Maybe there. Mm-hmm. You're doing amazing, Calypsy. You really are. I like the idea of having a silly little house in a silly little cave. Like a. Why is there a house? Oh, that's a creeper in this cave. You know, chat. Oh, why are there so many creepers? Chat, what's your favorite kind of house to make in Minecraft? Do you have a certain style you like to go with? No, it's cave ends. A glass house. Why a glass house? Do you like to throw stones in your glass house? Oh, I'd love to see it, Calypso, of course. Cherry blossom. And what do you do with the cherry blossom house? You live in the ground. Mm. It's so powerful, Lex server. That's crazy. Oh, that actually sounds really cool. Maybe I'll have to see what the deep slate bricks look like. Maybe I'll use some of them. I need to find the ideal spot. Oh, mushroom. Okay, that sounds cute. Do you use the pre-existing mushrooms? Jungler treehouse. I like the treehouses, but I feel like treehouses need to be a little bit more open. And I like classic European style, like cottages and stuff. Watermelon. Yummy. Alright, chat, so I wanna bring something up real quick. Okay, watermelon, right? Watermelon doesn't grow in jungles, right? I'm not crazy for thinking that. I feel like watermelon probably could not grow in jungles because it's a crawling vine plant and thus it would do awful in jungles, right? Oh, tunnel system sounds cool. So, like, and you get what I'm saying, right? But I don't know where watermelon grow naturally. Thank you for the follow, McQueedy. How you doing? We're having a lovely day. Where do watermelon grow? Does anybody know? I mean, here in the jungle, obviously, but like, if I were wanting to find a wild watermelon, where would I need to go? Really? Okay. Oh, this is watermelon, but I mean like IRL. I imagine they're smaller gourds. They're actually native to the desert. That makes sense. No, it's a hard outer shell to keep in the moisture. They're most likely a lot denser than what we're used to. And so the watermelon we have is very like, choosing the best watermelon to grow. I imagine a native watermelon is probably more like a squash. There, yeah, that makes sense. This is a massive jungle. Probably like maybe another hour. Probably another hour. Why, what's up, darling? Can we find a temple? If we can find a temple, we're moving in. Okay. 1, 2. Ow. If I was a temple, where would I be? Flying scroll. I love this. I wish there was a grappling hook. I think one of my favorite mechanics in any game is grappling hooks. If I was a temple, where would I be? Yeah. Have y'all played Dying Light? The movement system in that game was some of the most fun I've ever had. That I used to just go into that game and run. John, you can't hear me roll my eyes, but I rolled my eyes at you. No, have fun with your meeting, I suppose. I hope it's good. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, chat, the jungle keeps going. This is a giant jungle. This is so cool, actually. Yeah. Oh. I would also climb your wardrobe for attention. Okay, back to talking about Minecraft bases. Are y'all the kind that like to plan out your Minecraft house before you build it? Or do you just start building and see where it fits and then keep adjusting and looking at it until it's perfect? I think I'm definitely like I have an idea of what I want when I start, but then I start not being happy with any of it. Just start building. Good morning, Lisa. How you doing, Lisa? Ooh, village. Time to go ransack it, and we'll go back to the jungle after. Morning. I think one of my favorite houses to build was the one that I intentionally made poorly. Oh, maybe I'll make a server, Lisa. You thought you saw a temple? We'll go back. Don't worry, we're going back. We're living in that jungle. We gotta find a place to make the base. You've been building cafes? Okay, my two favorite things I've built in Minecraft. One was the house that was bad, and so I'd just keep building offshoots and new rooms that were in different directions, and I'd add more staircases going up and down. So it's just very difficult to get around, mostly because it pissed off everybody who came to visit me. And then another one I did was have y'all ever played the horror game, this indie horror game called The Convenience Store? Um, I love The Convenience Store. It's a lovely little indie horror game. Lisa, if you do play, let me know. Oh, thank you. I'll have to check it out. I mean, if you need a co-host, just saying. And so I built a scale replica of the convenience store from Convenience Store. Why? I thought it would be cool to have a working convenience store if ever I was invited to an SMP. That way I could run my convenience store and people would be like, oh yeah, here's the convenience store with shelves that functioned and everything. I never did get invited to an SMP, but you know. Aye. Well, I'm glad you like my voice, yes. We need a saddle to use the armor, right? Like, it's the horse armor still needs a saddle. Am I right on that? Thinking that? Henshin. Good morning, Common Rider. Thank you so much for the follow. Greatly appreciated. Mm. Fair enough, chat. You're right, you're right. Yeah, but I can't really, like, tell it where to go. It just will have the armor on. I can't really ride the horse without the saddle. I am toxic. Would I start an SMP? I don't want to do one of those lore SMPs. And it takes a lot of work to do those properly. I don't think I have the capacity right now to do something like that. I might just, start a Minecraft server for people to hang out on. Morning, Goth. Morning, Nia. Get some food. There we go. I've robbed them of all of their grain, chat. The villagers will starve this winter. I am nonplussed. Thank you, Amy, for the kiss. Villagers don't need things. Villagers can eat each other. You're right. Plus, if they took their hands out of their sleeves, maybe they'd be able to hunt animals. Blood for the blood god. Skulls for the skull throne. Oh, congratulations. I hope that goes well for you. I still have yet to find a place where I want to build. Wait a second, is that a random Oblivion? Not Oblivion. Oh, that's a game I should have done, chat. Oblivion Remastered. That was one of my first games that really made me be like, oh my god, gaming is so cool. Gaming is just so cool. I played it on the OG PS3. I went to my friend's house and he had it. And I ignored him the entire time so I could play Oblivion. And it was incredible. There was this very first moment where you open up you step out of the sewer, right? And there you see the whole map. Maybe not the whole map, but a whole bunch of stuff laid out in front of you. And it is so cool. The graphics were amazing, and there's this moment where I'm like, oh my god, how is this possible? Thank you for the lurk. I feel you. You almost cried. I might play it. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it off stream, but we'll see. 1, 3, so I need 3. If only there wasn't no weeping. Ones, this would be perfect. And this gate is interesting. Do you think the idea is that it fell over, or that it was some sort of mega structure? Very big portal. I never played Morrowind. I tried to play it, but sorry, I had to sneeze. Yeah. It feels like the kind of game where you just need to explore, and it's an incredible game. Do you know what I do really want to play? I want to play Fallout 4 because they made this giant mod where they took, hi Mitchie, they took England and they made it like a fully voiced like DLC where you go to London. Like, it is insane. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm good, how are you? But the Fallout mod is so incredible. And I haven't gotten to play it yet. EPs, I feel you. Maybe I'll do it one day. I'm stuck in that curse of being a streamer right now. Where, you know, I want to play all these games. I want to enjoy all these experiences, but it's partially trying to find something that's good for streaming. And also finding some... One second. Jeffrey. Apparently my old roommate had access to my Alexa still. It looks like they had set a reminder on the Alexa for them to have their medication picked up. I don't know if any of you heard that. They must have set it up so long ago. Yeah. Oh, sorry. What were we talking about, Calypsy? I got distracted. Oh, yeah, 100%. Oh, Nia, I don't know how long I'm going to be streaming. Yeah, I think there's also just a thing, though, of like some games don't lend themselves well to talking to people, and some stuff just really doesn't feel. Hey, look, an axolotl. Like if I feel too. Nico, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Go get a shout out for Nico. Like, if my energy's bad, then I know chat's not gonna be happy about it. Not happy, but you know. Y'all can tell when I'm not feeling the best. Or when I'm just not into something. As much as I might want to try to hide it. How was your stream, Nico? Felina. I think very specifically of like, well, the reason why I do a little thing, a little trick. You may notice that I rarely stream the same game twice. Thank you for the follow in the vid. How you doing? Fun, I hope that went well. And it's specifically because I don't want people to come just for certain games. I don't want people to get like, oh, I just like this game, and so I'm here for this stream. So instead, you know, I play all sorts of games, so people keep coming for me. Mm-hmm. I know. Actually, yeah, no, I specifically just don't want you all to ever see me beat a game. Have I played Ark? I used to play Ark. I didn't do too well with it. But that was another one of those games that I would impose artificial challenges on myself. And so I would, every time I would die, I would restart the game. I don't think I specified a day for community night. I do want to do one. Tonight could be a good day for it though, because it is TBD. We'll see. Depends on how I'm feeling after D&D. Oh, I hope Doom went well. Hmm. Probably. I'll be doing D&D at 11 my time. There we go. That was risky. I'm amazed we survived. But yes, hello lovely raiders from Felina. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, writer, a flirt, and I really appreciate y'all here. If you need to raid and run, please feel free to do so. And if you'd like to hang out, you're also able to do that. Or just vibing and chatting and relaxing as best we can. Thank you so much for the follow, Dark. I hope you're doing amazing. We always love more new friends. And if there's anything I can do to make you more comfortable, let me know. And I'll do anything within my power. Hi, Moxie. Good to see you. Go get your food. You baby that puppy so much. One second, chat. Well, Jean's not looking. We should. What? What should we do? What should we do while Jean's not looking, huh? What are you trying to do? So, chat, this might be a little crazy. I think my fridge died. I think my fridge might have died. I've unplugged it for now, and I'll probably plug it back in after stream. But it started making a very high-pitched squeaking sound, which, honestly, I feel like every appliance in this place is breaking. Maybe it's fine. I'll mess with it a bit later. But it's finally giving me a reason to clean this place, so that's fun. It started screaming. I don't know if anybody heard it. Neeks, I do really want to help clean, but no, I wouldn't put that on you. My place is a disaster space. That was you screaming. God, you sounded exactly like a squeaky, broken compressor. God, do you remember that? What was it that we were talking about shooting Vanya in the kneecaps? Why was I shooting Vanya in the kneecaps? I hope my place doesn't disturb you, Nix. No, Bubba girl. I was imagining some very elaborate. Chat, I am Kung Fu. Oh no. Chat, I'm not Kung Fu. Chat, I will never be Kung Fu. It did. It did. Oh, we need to play more games like that. I liked Resident Evil 4. It was so perfect. Resident Evil 4 was exactly what I wanted. Enough horror, enough interesting concepts, a very unique experience, a really directed thing. Oh, Resident Evil was so good. Resident Evil 2 is just so slow, and Resident Evil 3 is more confusing than anything. Why are you so fast, buddy? I am Kung Fu once again. I have not RE5'd. Is RE5 good? I like good horror shooters where it's like a good balance of horror and shooter. I don't like stuff with a lot of backtracking. My best games are the ones that usually move forward. I think things like, there's this artist one, or like The Painter, I think it's called. It's a horror walking sim. Outlast was pretty good. Anything where, like, you move forward. See, Dying Light, though, is like very running back and forth. I could maybe do Dying Light if I focus just on, like, doing the story. Mass Effect's also pretty slow. BioShock, that's on my list. Oh, we could do BioShock. BioShock might... Oh, music. I'm so glad I can help you, Clover. Yeah, there are a lot of fetch tasks, which I like. I mean, I think Bioshock would work out pretty well. Yeah, and Evil Within was one we were playing, but I need to play that with Keeper. I'm just going in a circle chat. I don't know what I'm doing. Exploding into a billion gajillion into pieces to my list. First off, can we get a shout out to the lovely Sword Art Online reabridged, sorry. Please shout out Sword Art Online reabridged for me. Would really appreciate that. Thank you. Second, no. You first. Fight me. God, imagine struggling trying to figure out which pieces of paper need to have stickers put on them. But lovely people though. I do want to give out some extra shout outs for them though. Saura here has a merch bundle coming out that you can pre-order. They have an amazing desk mat that I've considered getting myself, as well as a few other merch items. The desk mat itself is about 45. They have a wall hang and a bunch of other shit coming out with it too. And apparently there might be some special touches doing onto it. I think they're eating some of them. So if you want to have something bitten, go for that. And they also have a G-Subs affiliate link because they're better than me and G-Subs hate me. So, also give them credit for that. No, I was actually, the only reason I'm shilling for you right now is because I went to go take a look at your merch today. And I was like, is it weird if I buy my friends a desk mat? Because like, what if I want to have it? What if I want to have their face on my desk? It's kind of cool that I would be like, hey, here's a person I know. Anyways. Also, since I shilled for you, you'll give me free merch, right? I get free merch? But yes, they are a lovely streamer. And they smell like piss, so, if that's your thing, go for it. Jellyfish piss specifically. No, I wouldn't do that. If I'm supporting my friends, I'll support them completely. They just give off the vibe of piss smells. Like when you look at somebody and you're just like, yeah, you smell like pee. Mm-hmm. I'm stealing your baby. No. Give me your baby. Come here, baby. Oh no. Oh no. Zombies. I know, right? Sarah, you need to be meaner. I'm gonna start thinking you have feelings. Dog peed on the carpet. I have never pissed on a carpet in my life, chat. Thank you. Not even once. Give me a second. It's supposed to be ASMR. I'll be right. Shut up. know, because I think about that all the time. I just think it'd be so funny. It's just so funny. Hi, chat. Today I'd be ending my streaming career. Bang. Not a dog, but yeah. Okay. No, I would never, and chat, I will not make that joke, but, and I love you all very, very much. Y'all are incredible. I swear, it's just something I saw in a comic once, and it just has stuck with me ever since. Uh-huh. Good night, Pissfish. Go tonight. Oh, you know what? It's whatever. Go to sleep. And thank you for the follow, June Sama. Good night, sweetheart. Haven't I been here? What am I doing, chat? I am not finding anything. I don't know. I have been here. I put the berries in there. I'm killing the villagers. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. We're just. That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. This is fine. I just said, you're such a good boy. I love you. I'm giving you kisses later to a dog, and the man standing from me thought I was talking to him. Is their name Sword Art? Their name is not Sword Art Online Reabridged. But it pisses them off whenever I say it, so you know. It's Saura. No, we chat sometimes. They're very, very cool. And they're very lovely. We talk about how our communities are very, very different, and that like it's hard to find, you know, as much as you want to like collab with people and stuff, like they're just different vibes, especially in the ASMR communities. All right. This is nice, chat. I'm glad we can share this morning. Oh, thank you for the stretch. I'm glad we can share this moment together. I feel better. How about you, chat? Do you feel better? So it depends. There are, I think, categories specifically for reading, but if you're doing specifically soft-spoken, like story reading, I think ASMR is the best category. Hi, Pomo. How you doing? Everything all right? Mm. Yeah, it's a lovely little relaxing while we listen to the burning trees behind us. Honestly, I'm just loving the sound effect. I'm doing okay. Doing well. Doing better. This actually was very therapeutic. Oh, we missed one, chat. Cathartic. That's the word. Thank you, Gibbets. You know, I don't think I've ever used that word ever in my entire life. I've known of it, but I've never known when to use it properly. Huh, now I have, and now I'll use it again. Nice. Alright, back to exploring. I feel better. We have changed the trajectory of their lives. When you find comfort in being something destroyed. No. We're going with what you just said. When you find comfort in being something destroyed. Chad, how do you feel about that statement? Do you find comfort in being something destroyed? Where's Neeks? Stoics. Checks out. You know, in honor of the pissfish, we are going to live in the ocean for a bit. Can I make anti-merch? Can I make merch against other VTubers? Because just imagine, like, you both have merch making fun of the other VTuber. No, but do it with them, you know? Like, what if I had, like, a friend and they would get, like, you know, like a smelly dog and I would get, like, pissfish? Wouldn't that be, like, so cool? You have, like hate merch. I'm not saying that I would do that, or you know that anyone in particular I would get that with. Yeah, I mean, like, I had a vision, chat. Okay, hear me out. Wait, why can't I put this down anywhere? So here's the theory, a game theory. Bew. Thanks for watching. No, sorry. Thank you for the follow, Zebraxel. Okay, imagine this. Since I'm gonna be a villain, okay? What if we find somebody who can be a hero and they can be my rival? And then we can get anti-merch. And it's just merch, you know, making fun of the other person. I think that would be neat. There's just the one issue. Even the one issue is chat. You have to have the person has to be an amazing human being. Because imagine you had that, and then they get a Google Doc. Hi, how you doing this morning, Zebraxel? Hope you're having a lovely day. Also, yeah, no, that also is true. Gotta have friends first. I mean, like, what would you do in this situation? Just be like, I always knew they were evil. Anyways, You know what? Why not? Wait. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm very glad I can be what you need. Always happy to help. I knew him before he was a villain. It's not working right, Chad. I wanted to make it. But right now I just need a place to sleep, and so here's where we sleep. Hmm. Oh, yes. Okay, I did see a temple over there, chat, so we need to go raid the temple. Maybe we'll live in the boat. The broken boat would be cool. And then we'll try to build underground. Alright, here we go. Oh, actually, now that No, we're fine. Hold on to my stuff for a little while, thank you. I do. I stream every single day. I stream at 3:30 a.m. MST until 5:30 a.m. MST. Then on weekends, I stream starting at 6. And I go until I feel like it, really. I might make a pineapple. Pineapple might be fun to make. I can live in a pineapple under the sea. And then I stream again in the evenings, every day, at 4. I'm glad you say that. Of course, of course. I'm feeling good this stream. We may do another hour. How do we feel about another hour? I was so tempted, chat. I was so tempted to just get blown up. It would have been so funny. Diamond. We got the diamond, and now we can go to another boom end stream. There is a webcomic that I like called like the Genius Archers streaming something. I was about to say go check it out, but I didn't actually give you the real name. Oh, okay. Chat, would you like to know what it's called? It's called the Genius Archers streaming. The reason I bring this up is because, the Genius Archers streaming is a fantastic webcomic that I love. And it is, of course, full dive VR. I did. It's a full dive VR webcomic, where you can go into it, and it's about a guy who was a Olympic level archer, but due to an injury to his hand, he can no longer compete. And so he decided to try full dive VR and found out that his skills transfer directly to the game. And so he becomes really, really good at playing certain games, and people start watching him because it's like, wow, people don't usually use the bow or can't do this thing, and it's so difficult. Like, how can you do it so well? And he's becoming a better and better streamer. Well, in it, what he would do is if he got a high enough donation, he'd kill himself in the game. Like he would do a thing where he was like, shoot an arrow up into the air, directly up, be like, thank you so much for the donation, do a backflip, and then like the arrow would stab him in the face and he'd die. Long story short, that's what that reminded me of when you're like, just hit the explosion and end the stream. And surprisingly, like, first off, the translator who's doing the translation for it is so great. He loves the comic he's translating. He loves it so much that he'll put like little notes in there being like, hey, this is a reference to blah blah blah. Or in this culture, this means blah 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 blah. You can tell like he's super passionate about it. And he'll slip in little like, and because this is, done on like one of those free translation websites, he'll put in like little Easter eggs and stuff as well. Not like too aggressively, but like every once in a while, like there'll be scenes where chat is spamming a bunch of stuff, and so he'll add little Easter eggs into like the chat spam. Mm-hmm. I think it's just really cute. And like on top of that though is thank you for the kiss music. There are times where what was I gonna say? Oh, when he finishes translating every single one, then he'll go into the comments and be like, I really enjoyed translating this. Here's this thing. Here's this little like tidbit of information. Unfortunately, the website it's posted on, every once in a while they lose all their comments. And so, like, some of his notes are lost to the ether, which is really poetic when you think about it. Yeah, so those of you who'd like to read it, chat, go support the official authors, go buy the official release, blah, 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 blah. There it is. And thank you for the follow, Starlight Star Temple. Greatly appreciated. No winner this time. I can pin it for now. I cannot pin it. Or would you pin it for me, sweetie? I'd really appreciate it. More gambling redeems would be cool. I am going to add some gambling into chat. I don't want to make it, too overdone. Yes, pin the link. But yes. Because that way lurkers count better. Alright, chat. Here's the plan. We have one tree. I will make a glass dome so that a tree can grow. But as soon as I go under the water this next time, I will not be leaving above this level of, XY height. I'll not be leaving the water. I'll probably have to do a glass dome so I can grow a tree. But from this point forward, we're not leaving the water. Except when we're trying to beat the game. Are you ready? I live in the water now. I'm a water boy. I am the boy who waters. Alright, we need to find a way to put a bed in here. If I do this and this, and we're gonna try to fill up some of this now. Hi, Sophie. How you doing? Everything is going well. Get in the water. Get in the water. No, it's not working. Oh, shoot. I was hoping that'd let me clear some of the space, but it doesn't look like it's going to. I think hypothetically this might work. Nope, it's immediately filling up. Exactly. Oh, I'm drowning, Chad. Oh, well, I hope you do better. Thank you for the alert. Greatly appreciated. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate that as well. Okay. That makes sense. Namshock, thank you so much for the lurk. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And for all of you who are currently lurking, I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your time here. Let's see if this is gonna work. I have seen seals before, chat. Did you know that? How's your work going? Yeah, chat, I've seen seals. Yeah, get wrecked. How do you feel that I've seen seals and you maybe have as well or haven't? Thank you for the lurk, Sophie. I think it's funny all the lurkers coming out of the woodwork to let me know they're lurking. Alright. Seals. Yes, I love seals. I was in Scotland. This avatar? A little. But it will not be my final avatar. I will become a villain soon. There's a whole plan for that, and that'll have more lore. But this model is not only mine. It is a mass-produced model you can find on Booth PM. Decently cheap. And so it's definitely a good for a very emotive, lovely model to start with. I do suggest all new VTubers try websites like Etsy and Booth when starting, so that you can work on building your community before draining your wallet. I see so many VTubers starting off spending $300, $400 on a brand new model that doesn't have a lot of rigging and they don't know what they're wanting. Hey Fisher, how you doing? Of course, of course. You've written an elephant, how was that? Booth is spelled B-O-O-T-H, and instead of .com, it's .pm. Booth PM. It is a Japanese website. And and they have a lot of very, very cool models and junk. How is it that I just keep finding more water, chat? Everywhere I go is more water. Really? Interesting. Ah, that makes sense. They're very smart. And apparently they hold grudges. Which I imagine probably everything holds grudges. Elephants. Elephants can hold grudges. Which is just very funny to me. I need more elephant grudges. A customer transporting a live elephant. Why does something like that even happen? Where were they taking the elephant? Oh. I never thought about that. I guess it makes sense. One second. Okay, chat, I've just found something out. We're going to try to grow a tree underground again, chat. Apparently, it might still be possible, but I did not give it near enough light. Shit. I forgot the sapling. I think I'm lost. Okay. New plan. New plan. Oh no. Oh god. Oh, this has become a nightmare. This has become a horror story, chat. I have no dirt. I have no dirt, chat. So I can't grow the berry. So I have no way of getting food except finding things. I need to find dirt. We need dirt. Because we can make a source of light. Oh, eventually, yeah. But I have a blast furnace, so I can at least smelt metal. But I can't make a crafting table until I find more wood. So I have no way of making anything to repair anything, so I have this pickaxe. We're risking it all. Damn, that's not what I wanted. Hello, Echo, you're fine. So, okay. So hear me out. We have the 1 diamond pickaxe, which is totally doable. I have a blast furnace, so I can at least smelt things, so that'll be useful, but I can't cook food with it. I have some iron, so hypothetically we might be able to make something. But I need wood. So unless I find a mine shaft, I am stuck down here. And I can't dig up because if I go over the ocean, I lose. Cave. Oh, thank God, a cave. Diamond. I have a map. I do have a bed. So that's something at least. I have TNT. I need redstone. I have flint. Lava. Okay. Wait a second. Wait a second. We might have a solution here, chat. Okay. Where did I dig down? That's how I end up everywhere, chat. Poor planning and a lot of confidence. It's not a perfect idea, but it is an idea. Okay. Maybe. There might be a plane going overhead, I'm not sure. Okay. Please be more than a single block of lava. I need more than a single block. Oh, come on. I need more than this. My goal was hopefully to make obsidian so we could make a gate. But that's not happening apparently, so... Oh well. Alright, back to wishing me luck. 1, 2. Let's hope I have good luck. I do have string. Can I make wood out of bamboo? No. Putting it all on the line right here. Nada. Well, eventually we'll run into something, right? And imagine when the pick finally breaks. I am most definitely going to run a pickaxe eventually. Your surprising but inevitable betrayal. Okay. We're one level up from the complete hopeless disaster. This is slightly better. We still have so much more pick left. If we can get even one block of wood, chat, all we need is one block of wood. I don't have enough to make a crafting table. I need one block of wood to make a crafting table. Oh, Calypsy, you're such a good girl. Such a good girl. Okay. There is hope here, chat. There is hope here. I can make this work. If we can get water A to water B somehow. I need the water to be above the lava. Or reversed. Cause this is just gonna make yes. Okay. You get it though, right? You understand the premise here? We're gonna make a gate to the nether. Okay. Because the nether has trees. Calypsy, are you good now? But that means I have wood that I can work with. The goal is to make sure I have wood I can work with. Then I'm one step back. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So we're partially there already. This is a struggle, though. Okay. But thank you for the hydrate, Aura. Not Aura, pink. I really, really appreciate it. One block. One block got. Nice, 7. Thank you for the stretch, pink. 2 blocks got. Three blocks. Lynn. Lovely, lovely Lynn. You are so very incredible and kind. You are such a lovely, lovely individual. And I've been so lucky and fortunate enough to have you as a member of my community. You do so well, and you are doing incredible. I'm very proud of you and everything you do. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for the redeem. Thank you for the follow, Daniel. How you doing? I'm glad. Okay. Come on, give me the block. Alright, we're at 5. So we can do 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. Thank you. Thank you for the happy Saturday. Good morning, Crucified. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We need one more block, chat. One more block and we can finally go to the nether and maybe find some wood. This is such a dorky challenge. You just woke up? Oh. Oh, hi. Oh, I need to change this song. 1 second, chat. This isn't my music. You did? So bad, chat. This is gonna go so badly. Pixel? 100%. That sounds like it'd be fun. No. Chat. Oh, it almost crashed. There's no way. There is no way. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Right in the trees. Right in the trees. Right in the trees. What are the chances? Can I make soup out of the mushrooms here? Oh, it's so cool. Okay, chat, so we're gonna put my bed down here. We're just gonna put my bed down here real quickly. No. I can't believe we found the wow. What are the chances? What are the chances that we're just gonna spawn in the forest? Not only are we in the forest, I mean, like, look how, like, protected this is. I don't even know if, like, there's any food I can get here, but, like, this is phenomenal. There's almost like no way this could have gone better. I like the way these bricks sounds when they're placed. All right. Well, we now have a decent source of wood that we can take home with us. Do you see all those eyes, Chad? Do you see all those eyes in the dark? Okay. New plan. New plan. New plan. Okay. Fishing helps you. Ooh. Okay. Thank you for the follow, Emerald. Really do appreciate it. Oh shit, I forgot to change my tags, didn't I? 1 second. Let me do this here. I'm gonna do this. Minecraft. Okay. Thank you for the follow. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. Feel free to join the Discord if you'd like. So what I'm trying to do right now, chat, is I want to find a place where I can start living. That's not gonna work. I don't want to attract the attention of the spiders. Okay, a better idea. Mm-hmm. Do you get the idea here, chat? Okay. That's not gonna work. Hmm. This wood is fireproof? This wood is fireproof? Huh. Shit, this is so relaxing, isn't it? Are you feeling relaxed, chat? Good, I'm glad. This seems like the best idea. Alright, we're just going to place another block here. And here, and here. Amazing. Oh no. Been out of blocks. We'll get more blocks later. For now, we'll just use this. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Though it is relaxing, surprisingly. I am digging that. Mm. Thank you, I appreciate it. We're back, okay. And we'll just do a little pinny pin pin. Message is pinned. As you should, as you should. Now let's do the important things real quick. We need a door, and I need a crafting table. Once we have those two things, we can work on everything else. Still gonna need to figure out a way to get dirt, but that's later me's problem. door is so cool. Interesting. Look at all those creepers. We're living in an active threat zone. I'm sorry to hear that, Calypsy. Sorry, chat. Apparently trash pickup just came by. I don't want you all to have to hear that loud noise. So I might mute off and on. Okay, we need to get over there. No, Gene's Discord's amazing. Don't worry about it, it's lovely. It is an 18+ space and does require ID verification. If you're not comfortable doing ID verification, I do understand. The ID verification's more for my safety as well as yours. Oh. Why is there another man? Don't send me Big Macs at 3 a.m. chat. I don't want Big Macs. There's a gas chat. Alright, we need to find a nice little way of making this more visible for me. Here's what we're gonna do. Boop. Big Daddy's ooh woo. No, I'm sorry to hear that, Crucified. I wish you the best of luck with the roommates. Phone. The thing is, I also want to find pigmen. Bison, buttermilk, bacon. Morning, chum. Lovely to see you. Ooh, what was this? Oh. Oh, that's dangerous, and that spooked me a little bit. About to have a heart attack. Are these vines? Can I? This is so scary, Jen. Every time I see one of the little nether boys. I mean, good for Eyes of Ender and all that, you know, but like, I didn't realize they were going to live here. I do like these little lights, though. Me and the nether boys. What's this? Shroom light. Can I make something with shroom lights? No, they're just lights. What do you want to show me? What's a biker? Oh no, you can. You just need to do the ID verification. Passports work as well as other IDs work. No, I understand. I may make a separate one day, but as that one does have 18 plus features, I do make sure that it has to have ID verification. Oh, stop trying to get in my line of sight, you little nether boy. Mm. Because unfortunately, though we do specify things are 18 plus, we have had people try to bypass that. Of course, of course. We had one user who used the justification of emancipation. Well, this is going to be a problem, isn't it? I want to find the piglins because I like trading with them, but I hate the nether boys. They're so scary. Hmm. Your eyes are burning. What's wrong with your eyes, Crucified? Yeah. They will bully me if I look at them. Oh. I feel like such a I feel like such a beta. You can't look at the alphas. They're too strong and powerful and masculine. Alright. Mm-hmm. That's not what I want. Thank you for the lurk. I'm wearing gold, don't you worry. I'd try it. Would you try it, chat? Would you try a bacon milkshake? You right, we be ballin'. It's okay, chat, cause I be ballin'. You're all ballin'. I want you to redeem for Ali. Oh, Ali, would you like me to call you that? It's been redeemed for me to call you a good. I just need confirmation that you're comfortable with it, and I'll call it to you. Perfect. Allie, you're such a good girl. Such a good girl. Especially with all of your nerding out. I do really appreciate the nerding. Alright, we have so much. We'll do it. We'll do this. Do this. Do this. I did not mean to do that. that's so little gold. Okay, so here, will I remember if you change your name? Maybe. You just have to specify who you are. But I like the name Ica. It's a lot of fun to say. Oh, this is a bad choice, bad spot, bad idea. Okay. So, unfortunately, I still need dirt. I still need dirt, chat. Because I can't grow any vegetables. And so I need to figure out what I'm gonna do for food. I was hoping that maybe if you find some piglins, maybe they'd give me dirt, but I don't know if they would ever give me dirt. Hello, Shmel. How you doing? No, it's here somewhere. I'm glad. Okay. It's here, I know it is. The entrance to our little space. But now I can't seem to find it. Thank you for the follow. It's not that deep. I can make it deeper. But not in a relaxing way. Oh. Oh, you're right. I probably did. You're good. Okay, but it's here somewhere. Oh, I was so certain this was going to be easy, chat. I was so certain I had this figured out. Thank you for the flower. Oh, this is going to be a struggle, isn't it? Okay. So here's the thought. Here I am. And I know it was a distance away to get over here. I believe I should see where the deep slate is. Because we had to go through the wall to get here. Oh, if only I had like a spyglass or something. That would help out so much. And I couldn't see this from where the deep slate was. No. There's one block. There's that. Oh, why am I an expert at getting lost? Found it. 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 Okay. Alright. Now where was our path? We dug through here, I know we did. It's here somewhere. That would be a lovely goal. Getting to be a chill cat. Just vibe and exist. Okay, let's make this a little bit easier next time. There we go. I did not realize how low my health was, chat. Hi, Keely. How you doing? How you doing? Oh. Well, chat. Unfortunately, it is 9:37. It is 9:37. We have gone a little bit past the original plan. Streamed a lot longer than I initially intended. So that means it is time for stream to come to an end. This was a lot of fun, chat. I had a great time. Don't forget, we'll be back here tomorrow and later on this evening. We stream every single day. Weekends it starts at 6 a.m. Weekdays we start at 3:30 a.m. MST. And then in the evening it's 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Which weekends may go longer. And I had a lot of fun today. It was a great time. But now we need to see if we can find something to raid into and keep up these cozy vibes. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I have anybody right now. This person's doing coding, it looks like. Using Bandicam, that's crazy. Alright, let's see if we can find some. That's a lot of emotes, thank you. Okay, let's see who we have in the ASMR category today. Any good VTubers? There's me. Hi, me. not seeing anything right now. Is Shoto ASMR? We're writing ASMR. Goblin J. No, but they aren't doing ASMR, they're doing Silk Song. I need to have something that's cozy because we've been rated by cozy people today. Let's see what we have here. Okay, I'm gonna check out this person with the googly eyes. Well, you know, when all else fails, Oh, Percy Jackson. Okay. Perfect. Let's go raid you into Percy Jackson. Alright, chat. Give them a little lucky raid. There you go, chat. Copy the raid message. And I will see you all later, okay? You've all been amazing. I appreciate you all so very, very much. Don't forget we'll be back later today. Mwah. Mwah. Stinky. Mwah. Bye, everybody.